what if death was not the end? Imagine a world where, in the crushing darkness of the deepest ocean, giant bioluminescent organisms drift untouched by time. In hidden streams of South America, axolotls regrow entire limbs and even portions of their hearts. Microscopic tardigrades survive radiation, boiling heat, freezing cold, and even the vacuum of space. Immortal jellyfish defy aging, cycling endlessly between youth and adulthood. Planarian worms regenerate endlessly, challenging everything we know about mortality. These are Earth's forbidden creatures of death, living beings that cheat the ultimate fate, survive the impossible, and reveal a planet far stranger and more terrifying than we ever imagined. In the midnight zones of our oceans, where light is swallowed whole and pressure could crush steel, there drifts a creature so deceptively fragile, yet so incomprehensibly powerful, it may be the closest thing to eternal life ever discovered. It is translucent, nearly invisible, just a small jellyfish no larger than your thumbnail, and yet, hidden within its ghostly body, lies the secret that has haunted humanity since the beginning of time, the ability to escape death itself. This is Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. For most of us, aging is the one law that cannot be broken. Cells degrade, DNA unravels, and the machinery of life eventually fails. It is biology's most certain truth: birth, growth, decay, and death. But Turritopsis is an outlaw in this cycle. Unlike every other known animal, it has the extraordinary power to reverse its own life, transforming its adult body back into a juvenile state, not just once, not just twice, but endlessly, like a biological loop. For this jellyfish, death is not a wall, it is a revolving door. Imagine an old man suddenly reverting to a child, then growing up again, and then repeating the process over and over without ever reaching a final end. That is what this tiny creature does in the darkness of the sea. It is not indestructible. It can still be eaten, crushed, or destroyed. But when it comes to aging, when it comes to the ticking clock we call mortality, this jellyfish simply resets the timer. For centuries, sailors told tales of ghostly jellyfish that never seem to die, only vanish into the deep. These were dismissed as myths, the drunken stories of men lost at sea. But in the 1980s, marine biologists studying jellyfish off the coast of Italy noticed something strange. A fully mature Turritopsis they had collected began to regress, not decay, not rot, but revert into a polyp. It's an anomaly, a fluke of laboratory conditions, but repeated observations confirmed it. Again and again, the jellyfish returned to its youth. By the 1990s, whispers began to spread. Scientists quietly called it the immortal jellyfish. This was not a legend anymore. This was a living loophole in the laws of nature. How does it work? The answer lies in a process called transdifferentiation. Unlike most animals, which have specialized cells locked into roles, skin cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, the immortal jellyfish can transform one cell type into another. Imagine your skin cells suddenly deciding to become a heart cell, or a brain cell turning into bone. For the immortal jellyfish, this is routine. When stressed by starvation, injury, or old age, it activates this hidden program. Its adult cells collapse back into a juvenile form, reorganizing into the structure of a young polyp. In essence, Turritopsis performs biological reincarnation, its own cells reborn within the same body. Some researchers call it a living time machine. Others whisper about it as a cheat code buried within nature's design. And yet, the chilling truth is this: we don't fully understand how it works. The genetic triggers, the molecular pathways, the evolutionary origins, they remain mysteries, which raises a question almost terrifying in its implications. If nature found one way to escape death, how many others might exist, hidden in places we have not yet explored? Since its discovery, the immortal jellyfish has been smuggled into labs around the world. Researchers in Japan, Spain, and the United States have tried to culture colonies, observing their endless cycles. Some populations thrived for years, repeatedly aging backward like spectral clockwork. But these creatures are fragile. Outside their natural environment, colonies collapse. Scientists describe frustration. It's like chasing eternity, only to watch it slip away in your hands. And yet, the temptation remains irresistible. Could this power be adapted for humans? Could we one day unlock the same transdifferentiation in our own cells? Could we learn to reverse aging? The implications are staggering. Medicine could regenerate organs endlessly. Wounds could heal without scars. Lifespans could stretch into centuries. And perhaps, just perhaps, death itself could be delayed indefinitely. But with every possibility comes a darker shadow. If humans were freed from death, what would become of life? Overpopulation, endless suffering, a world where the rich live forever, while the poor decay. And even more chilling, what if immortality does not mean eternal youth of the mind? What if, like the jellyfish, we too became trapped in a loop, reborn endlessly but without memory, without continuity, forever drifting between lives? The immortal jellyfish forces us to confront an ancient paradox. We fear death. We resist it with every technology, every prayer, every story. But what if immortality is not a gift, but a curse? Turritopsis dohrnii does not conquer death. It does not transcend mortality in the way we dream of. Instead, it resets. It loops. It never escapes the ocean, never evolves into something higher. It is trapped in its own cycle, a prisoner of its forbidden gift. Perhaps that is the true lesson, that immortality without purpose is not life at all. That death, as cruel as it seems, is also the engine of progress, the force that drives evolution, the reason new life emerges. And yet, in the darkness of the sea, the immortal jellyfish drifts on, silent, endless, mocking our frailty. They are smaller than a grain of sand, invisible to the naked eye, yet in their microscopic frames hides one of the most unholy powers of survival ever discovered on Earth. They do not fear boiling heat. They do not fear freezing cold. They laugh at radiation strong enough to tear apart DNA. They have floated through the vacuum of space and returned alive. These are tardigrades, creatures so indestructible, so unyielding. They are often called water bears, but don't let their tiny, pudgy shapes fool you. These are the monsters of the unseen world, survivors that defy every law of mortality we thought was absolute. Deep in moss, in droplets of water on leaves, and in the thin films of moisture clinging to stone, tardigrades thrive. Wherever there is even the faintest whisper of water, they awaken. Their slow, lumbering movements resemble bears wandering a forest, but their stage is microscopic, and their theater is eternity. For centuries they were overlooked, discovered in the 18th century, but dismissed as curiosities. It was only in the modern age, with the rise of electron microscopes and molecular biology, that the true nightmare of tardigrade survival was revealed. Because unlike almost every other animal on Earth, tardigrades do not surrender to death easily. They resist it with strategies so alien, so unnatural, it feels like they were designed for an apocalypse that has not yet come. When faced with drought, starvation, or lethal temperatures, tardigrades do something unthinkable. They dry themselves out, curling into a shriveled husk called a ton. In this state, they are neither alive nor dead. Their metabolism drops to near zero, less than 1/100th of 1%. Their cells are shielded by unique proteins that glassify their insides, locking DNA and organelles into a frozen state. Radiation passes through them like shadows, unable to damage what has been turned to molecular stone. They can remain like this, not just for days, not just for years, but for decades, possibly even centuries, waiting for a drop of water to awaken them. Then, astonishingly, they rehydrate, uncurl, and begin crawling once again, as if death had been nothing but a passing dream. Scientists call this state cryptobiosis, but perhaps a better word would be resurrection. If their terrestrial survival wasn't terrifying enough, humanity has already tested them against the cosmos itself. In 2007, thousands of tardigrades were launched into orbit. For 10 days, they were exposed to the vacuum of space, absolute nothingness. Temperatures swung from blistering heat to freezing cold. Radiation levels soared to lethal doses. Nearly every other organism would have been obliterated. But when the capsule returned to Earth, many tardigrades were alive, feeding, reproducing, utterly unfazed by the horrors of outer space. This experiment was repeated in 2019, when a lunar lander carrying thousands of dehydrated tardigrades crashed on the moon. No one knows if they survived the impact, but if they did, it means there may be microscopic, near-immortal creatures quietly waiting in the dust of another world. The secret of their immortality lies not only in their ability to dry themselves into tons, but in their DNA itself. Tardigrades produce proteins unlike anything found in humans, proteins that shield their DNA from radiation damage. Even when strands of DNA are shattered, tardigrades repair them with astonishing efficiency, stitching life back together like master surgeons of the microscopic. In 2016, genetic analysis revealed something even stranger. Tardigrades appear to have absorbed genes from bacteria, fungi, and even plants. Their genome is a Frankenstein's patchwork of life. Some scientists believe this hybrid nature may give them their resilience, making them chimeras built for survival. It is as if evolution itself armed them with every weapon imaginable to withstand extinction. But perhaps the greatest terror is not in how they survive, but in what they represent. Tardigrades are not predators. They are not hunters. They do not roar from the dark. Their horror is different. They are survivors. Eternal, unyielding survivors. When the dinosaurs fell, when asteroids struck, when ice ages froze continents, when volcanoes blackened the sky, tardigrades endured. When humanity eventually fades, when cities collapse and steel turns to dust, tardigrades will remain. They will crawl slowly through the ruins, drinking dew, feeding on microbes, oblivious to the rise and fall of empires. And perhaps, when Earth itself is gone, swallowed by the sun, they may drift into space once again, waiting, sleeping, surviving, like seeds of an ancient alien persistence. In their silence, They embody a terrifying truth that survival itself is not tied to intelligence or strength or size. It belongs to resilience. It belongs to the small, the unseen, the patient. They are a reminder that when death finally claims humanity, it will not mean the end of life. Somewhere, in a droplet of water, a tardigrade will still be crawling. In the misty canals of Mexico City, a shadow swims. It looks harmless. A salamander with feathery gills, a small mouth that seems to smile, a body that glides with eerie calm through stagnant waters. But behind that innocent face lies one of the most forbidden powers in the natural world, the power to reverse death's verdict. This is the axolotl, a creature that mocks mortality itself. Cut off its limb, and it will grow another. Wound its heart, and it will heal. Damage its brain, and it will rebuild. Where other creatures perish, the axolotl renews. It is a living echo of rebirth, and a haunting reminder that even death can be rewritten. Long before biologists studied this creature, the Aztecs feared and worshipped it. To them, it was not just an animal, it was a god in disguise. The story tells of Xolotl, the twin brother of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. When the gods demanded sacrifice, Xolotl fled. He transformed into maize, into agave, into salamanders, and finally into the axolotl, a god hiding in plain sight, refusing death itself. Today, that mythology lingers in its biology, because unlike most amphibians, the axolotl never undergoes metamorphosis. It never crawls onto land. It remains locked in an eternal adolescence, a permanent youth, a being suspended in time, a rebel against fate, a god refusing to die. Most creatures heal wounds, but the axolotl does not heal. It resurrects. Slice away its leg, and within hours, cells at the wound site erase their identities, reverting to stem cells as if rewinding evolution itself. Within days, a shimmering bud forms. Within weeks, a perfect new limb emerges. Bone, muscle, veins, nerves, skin, every structure rebuilt from nothing, and its defiance goes further. Axolotls can regenerate their spinal cords, repairing paralysis. They can restore parts of their hearts, healing injuries that would be fatal in nearly every animal. Even regions of their brains can be reassembled after damage. No scars, no memory of the wound, only renewal. It is not survival, it is rebirth. How does this forbidden miracle work? At the center is a biological secret: stem cell flexibility. In humans, stem cells are limited, specialized, but in the axolotl, they remain astonishingly malleable. When an injury occurs, they reset to zero, a blank canvas, capable of becoming anything the body requires. But this is only half the secret. The axolotl also suppresses scarring. Where our bodies build rigid tissue to close wounds, axolotls erase the damage entirely, leaving no trace. It is as if their bodies deny that an injury ever happened. For scientists, this is not just fascinating, it is terrifying, because hidden inside the axolotl's genome may lie the blueprint for curing spinal cord injuries, for regrowing lost limbs, for repairing organs, for slowing, even reversing the march of aging. The axolotl is not simply a salamander, it is a biological prophecy. But here lies the cruelest paradox. The The creature that refuses death is itself dying. Once abundant across the lakes and canals of central Mexico, the axolotl now teeters on the edge of extinction. Pollution clouds its waters. Invasive fish devour its young. Urban expansion drains its habitat. What remains is fragile. In the wild, axolotls number only in the thousands. The god of rebirth is being killed by humanity's indifference. It is a haunting irony that while we seek its secrets to cheat death ourselves, we are ensuring the death of the very creature. Biology. It is a mirror of our deepest fears and desires. In it, we see the dream of defeating death. We see glimpses of a future where missing limbs regrow, where organs rebuild, where age itself bends to rebirth. But we also see fragility, because even the power to rewrite death cannot stop extinction. Even the god of rebirth cannot survive the destruction of its world. Perhaps that is the axolotl's final lesson, that death is not always the enemy, that rebirth requires balance, that even immortality depends on protection. If we lose the axolotl, we lose more than a species. We lose a key to the forbidden knowledge of life itself. Imagine cutting an animal in half and watching both pieces crawl away, alive. Imagine slicing it into 10 fragments and seeing 10 new creatures emerge, each writhing back into existence. To us, it feels like sorcery, a forbidden ritual, but in nature it is biology. This is the world of the Planarian worm, a creature that turns wounds into beginnings, endings into births, a being that bends life and death into an endless cycle. For centuries, they haunted the notebooks of naturalists, dismissed as curiosities, but now science is realizing the terrifying truth. Planarians may be biologically immortal. Their cells regenerate without limit. Their bodies show no signs of age. Their telomeres reset again and again, erasing the clock of mortality. They are not simply survivors. They are rebels against death itself. The first encounters with these worms were not in modern labs, but in the candlelit rooms of 18th century naturalists. Men of science sliced them out of curiosity, and what they witnessed shook them to the core. A worm split lengthwise became two. A worm diced into fragments multiplied into an army. The observers could not explain it. They only recorded it. To them, Planarians were not worms. They were symbols. Some cultures whispered they were cursed creatures, forever condemned to rebuild themselves. Others imagined they carried a divine spark, an eternal essence that mocked the finality of death. They were both miracle and punishment, a living paradox in the dirt. Modern science stripped away the folklore, and what it found was stranger than legend. The secret of the Planarian lies in its neoblasts. These are not ordinary cells. They are stem cells in their purest, most dangerous form. In humans, stem cells are rare and specialized. In Planarians, nearly 1/3 of the body is made of them. When the worm is wounded, its neoblasts surge to the site. They erase memory of injury. They rewrite tissue. They weave muscle, bone, nerves, even entire brains from scratch. And they do it with no scars, no mistakes, no limits. In one chilling experiment, researchers cut a Planarian into 279 fragments. Weeks later, each fragment had become a complete worm. The creature had multiplied from one into hundreds, defying every law of biology we thought we knew. And stranger still, their telomeres, the biological timers of aging, reset each time. Humans age because our telomeres shorten with each cell division, but in Planarians, they lengthen again and again. Time itself is rewritten. In controlled labs, Planarians do not weaken. Generations of cuts, thousands of regenerations, yet no decline. Colonies of worms have been studied for decades, and they remain as youthful as the day they were caught. It is as if death does not live inside them. But immortality has limits. Though they evade aging, they are not invulnerable. Predators can devour them. Viruses can infect them. Environmental collapse can wipe them out. They are eternal only under the right conditions. A reminder that even immortality bends to the world has always tempted us. The dream of living forever, of escaping the grave, of healing every wound. But the Planarian asks a darker question. Would endless life be a gift or a curse? A worm cut into pieces is not destroyed. It is multiplied. But is each fragment the same being or something new? If a worm regenerates a brain, is it the same mind or a fresh one? And if we were to copy ourselves endlessly, which one would be us? Immortality, the worm suggests, does not erase death. It only replaces it with an infinite loop, a cycle of beginnings without ends. It is not freedom. It may be eternal imprisonment in flesh that refuses to stop. Of course, humans cannot resist the temptation to steal from nature. Scientists study the worm's neoblasts, hoping to unlock its forbidden secrets. Could we regrow lost arms? Could we cure spinal cord injuries? Could we reverse aging itself? Already, Planarians are teaching us about cellular reprogramming, cancer, and healing. Their DNA is a blueprint for a future where wounds never scar, organs never fail, and bodies rebuild endlessly. But with this knowledge comes danger. If we master immortality, do we master death, or invite something far worse? The worms give no answers. They only multiply, endlessly, silently. The Planarian worm is not majestic. It is not large or strong or beautiful. It is small, hidden, crawling in the dirt, and yet it carries one of the most terrifying powers in all of biology. The power to erase death, to restart the clock, to live without end. Perhaps one day, humanity will steal this power. Perhaps one day, immortality will be ours. But the worm forces us to face a forbidden truth, that life without death may not be life at all. It may be something else, something endless, something hollow, a cycle without escape. Beneath the crushing weight of the ocean, in darkness deeper than any cave, lie vents that spew boiling water laced with toxic metals. To us, this is hell, a place where heat and pressure crush all hope of survival. And yet, in these blackened abysses, life thrives. Strange microbes feast on chemicals instead of sunlight. Towering colonies of worms and alien-like creatures grow where no oxygen should sustain them. These are the Extremophiles, Earth's most radical survivors. They are the ultimate forbidden creatures of death, proof that life does not merely endure, but flourishes in the most impossible places. On the surface, life is powered by the sun. Plants convert its energy into food. Animals feed on plants, and the cycle continues. But in the deepest oceans, sunlight never arrives. For centuries, scientists assumed these waters were barren. That illusion shattered in 1977 when explorers descended into the Galapagos Rift. What they found was unimaginable, a world of chimneys spewing superheated water, and around them, ecosystems teeming with life. Worms taller than a man, blind shrimp, giant clams, all thriving without sunlight. Here, evolution had written a different story. Instead of photosynthesis, life was powered by chemosynthesis, the ability to turn poison into energy. The deep ocean is a place of extremes. At one vent, temperatures soar beyond 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. Just meters away, icy waters approach freezing. The pressure is crushing, hundreds of times greater than the air above. Yet in these contradictions, life thrives. Tube worms grow meters tall, feeding on symbiotic bacteria that convert toxic hydrogen sulfide into nourishment. Pompeii worms cling to vent walls, tolerating temperatures hotter than any other known animal. Their backs are covered in protective bacterial fleece that may shield them from heat. Giant sea lambs form dense colonies, glowing faintly with their inner bacteria. Blind shrimp navigate in complete darkness, using thermal sensors instead of eyes. Each creature is a testament to survival against the impossible, living proof that death has boundaries. The microbes are stranger still. Some bacteria in these depths can survive radiation levels that would obliterate human cells. Others endure acidity that could dissolve metal. Some thrive not just in boiling heat, but also in ice-crusted brine pools that should kill all life. These microbes are, in a sense, deathless. They repair their DNA with near perfection, resisting decay in ways our cells never could. For scientists, they are models of resilience, potential tools for medicine, biotechnology, even space travel. But they are also a reminder. Life is far more flexible than we imagine. If Earth harbors such creatures, what horrors or wonders might wait beneath the icy oceans of Europa, or within the methane seas of Titan? The Extremophiles teach us that death, like life, is relative. What we call impossible is simply unexplored. To humans, boiling water, crushing pressure, and toxic chemicals mean instant destruction. To Extremophiles, these are not barriers, but foundations for existence. They remind us that the boundary between life and death is not a wall, but a shifting tide, one that depends on where you stand and what you are made of. And perhaps most hauntingly, they remind us that Earth is not unique. If life can thrive in these alien landscapes here, then the universe itself may be teeming with strange, forbidden creatures that laugh at our definition of survival. For us, the Extremophiles hold promise and peril. Their enzymes inspire new medicines. Their resilience could one day help us survive nuclear fallout or colonize other worlds. Yet they also warn us that life is not fragile. It is adaptable, invasive, unstoppable. If microbes can thrive in boiling vents, what might survive in our own darkest experiments? What might endure in the aftermath of human-made disasters? The abyss whispers back, life will find a way. Evir. And if humanity does not, the axolotl regrows its body. The tardigrade survives the void. The immortal jellyfish reverses aging. The Planarian worm multiplies without end. And here, in the abyss, Extremophiles thrive where life should die. Together, they are Earth's forbidden creatures of death, beings that challenge the boundaries of mortality, rewriting the rules of biology. But as we close this journey, one truth remains. The Earth itself is more alien than outer space, and within its darkest corners lie secrets that may one day save us or doom us. So I leave you with a question. If life can survive anywhere, then what truly is death?